than swift.
Rain once again just at the halfway point of India's innings at the R. Premadasa Stadium. Let's hope it's not too lengthy an interruption, but it still gave us plenty to discuss those first 24 overs or so after Babar Azam won the toss and put India in. 147 for 2 is where the game stands. And we look back at an opening partnership that had a different sort of approach and intent. It's something that Anil Kumble and Urooj Mumtaz had both predicted on our pre-show on Maruti Suzuki Arena Presents, ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by JBL. So I've got Anil and Urooj. Let's just spend some time on what we saw in the first 24. Let's start about the intent itself. You saw it coming, Anil, and what made it easier for Rohit and Shubman to play the way they did in this first half?
No, I think, like I mentioned, the surface was very different. It was much slower. And, the previous game, I think it was more the unevenness of the pitch and the bounce, that was the main factor. But it was nice to see both Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma's intent right from ball one. That first 6 that Rohit hit, after that, I don't think they looked to even run for those first 10 overs. They were just looking to hit boundaries, and it was very nice to see India get off to a great start.
Yeah, it's not only Anil says that in zest, Urooj, because it's actually a fact that I think in the first 10 overs, they ran 1 single and 10 boundaries and were going at over 6 and over. So there were lots of boundary balls. It's again something both of you thought could happen. And Shaheen Afridi was, I think, none for 31 in 3 overs. So what went wrong for Pakistan there?
Yeah, absolutely. Not just the 16 boundaries, but the 4 sixes that came along with them as well. And I think that's what it was. It was intent with absolute quality, high quality batting from India. And I think what went wrong was that Shaheen probably was a little bit slower to get a measure of the surface in terms of what lengths to bowl. You saw absolute quality of bowling from Naseem at the other end, and Shaheen, and so uncanny of him not to adjust length very quickly. And I thought he was too full. He obviously wasn't getting the same movement that he does with the new ball as he did the previous day as well. So every time he was full, and then Rohit Sharma and in particular Shubman Gill as well, he was solid to rock onto that front foot. Even at a few occasions when Haris was bowling plus 145 Ks, Shubman Gill wasn't afraid to come down the wicket again to use that front foot and hit through the line of the ball. So I thought where we had quality from Naseem at one end, Shaheen probably had an off day. And then Shadab, his 2 overs went for 30 plus or something. But just his his continued overs from there after he got Rohit Sharma's wicket just seems like he has a bit of a spring in his step. But I think it was that the diversity in quality from both ends from Pakistan, and India made sure that they pounced on every bad ball opportunity. I don't even think they missed out on one.
Yeah. As far as the surface goes, it looked slow when Rohit was taking on Shaheen, and yet Naseem Shah is getting a few to be collected here. So how do you sum up this surface?
Yeah, I think, Naseem obviously has a little more pace than a Shaheen Afridi, although Shaheen is perhaps slightly taller. Like Urooj mentioned, he didn't get the length right. He was looking for that swing. It was not there, not his usual way of ball coming in. The line was slightly off. But I thought Naseem Shah just hit the deck a lot more. Once you hit the deck, there was a bit of bounce. Possibly it was the ends that they chose as well. But it was good to see a young Pakistan fast bowler running in and bowling that pace on a surface that we know at Premadasa can be really slow.
All right, let's talk about the wickets, and let's start with the Rohit Sharma wicket, which seemed against the run of play, and Shadab Khan. Who knows if he would have gone for one more expensive over, whether we would have seen Shadab again. He was none for 31 for 2, and I've got one of the great leg spinners of the game. I've got 2 leg spinners on our show, so I think they can both agree that there were some absolute pies that were tossed by Shadab, too short, too full. I wonder if you can go into his mind and think of what changed, because whether it was just a bit of luck that he had with Rohit Sharma's wicket.
Yeah, I think so. I think that you saw, we spoke off air as well, that probably Shadab's got the yips here because he was literally not landing it, or when he was landing it, it was way too short, and Rohit obviously took advantage of that. Probably with the flow, he went through. Perhaps he wanted to go over extra cover, went through with the shot. It was a good length ball, not necessarily a wicket-taking ball, but Rohit just went through with a shot, but a good catch there in the outfield. So Shadab, once a bowler, any bowler for that matter, no matter how you bowl, once you get that wicket, you obviously get a spring in your step. But he was lucky to get that.
Yeah. Urooj, if you would like to add to that as well. We spoke of Shadab in the preview to this game too, didn't we? And you said it's just not having that sort of form, releases and coming through. Now, should we give credit to Babar here for persisting with him? Because at that time, it looked like, oh, why is he bowling Shadab again? Turned out to work wonders because he's bowled well since then.
I mean, in all honesty, I think you'd put the wicket down to a little bit of luck. The way Rohit Sharma was batting, and even that stroke was absolutely perfectly timed. He just didn't probably get the placement a few yards further left to Fahim. But sometimes, and coming from experience, for a leg spinner, it takes just the purest of lucks with the worst of days for things to turn around. And that's probably what's happened with Shadab. Since that wicket, he's probably landed the ball a little bit better. And I think Babar also, like we've spoken about this at length, that because of having those only 3 quick bowlers and then Shadab not being up to form, he doesn't really have any backup options of that quality. So I think it was nice that given the pressure situation, he did continue with Shadab, because come further into this tournament and more importantly the World Cup, he will need those 10 overs from Shadab.
And also the break, perhaps, because there was a drinks break, and this was the first ball that Rohit was facing. So maybe something that Rohit needs to keep in mind. I know the previous game, again, after the break, he got bowled, but that was a beauty. But maybe a lapse in concentration or just going with the flow, Rohit possibly missed a trick there.
Yeah, absolutely. India could have looked in a different position if they were still without loss here. There's been a few overs where they've just held it back. They're still going at over 6 and over. Wicket of Shubman Gill followed soon after, and Shaheen Afridi was brought into the attack almost immediately at the fall of the first wicket. It's the second time we've seen what is now clearly, Anil, a very deceptive slow ball. I'm going to try and break it down with you. I've actually got a white ball too. Yeah. And what we saw is that, I won't do it, but I'll just sort of try and explain that there's some serious work here at the wrist which deceives even a set batter like Shubman or a set batter like Hardik. So I'm going to toss that to you now. Safe hands still.
Oh yes, not too bad.
Yeah, brilliant. So tell me what he's doing there, because it's clearly deceiving batters.
Yeah, it's very late that Shaheen does that. He breaks his wrist, and we saw even in the previous game against Hardik Pandya, well settled Hardik. He was batting brilliantly, came around the stumps, and then the length that he gets is very, very important as well. So he bowled that perfect length, and the break in the wrist. Obviously, he comes in last minute, he breaks that wrist. Not easy for the batter to pick it from the hand. And that caused the downfall for Hardik, and also today to Shubman, because he was bowling over the stumps. It was a very good ball to start with. And you know, as a bowler, you know that the batsman is in good flow. And I think not just the importance of bowling the slower ball, but when to do it. I thought Shaheen got it perfectly right today.
And there's no other tell, is there? It's not easy to pick up early.
No, it's not. It's like Bumrah as well. Very late in the action that you pick up. So until and unless you sort of get a hang of it, or you're looking for it, then you probably will be able to pick it. But I don't think, in this case, Shubman was certainly looking for that slower ball.
Yeah, Urooj, you follow Pakistan cricket a lot more than me. Is the Shaheen slow ball, has it always been there? Is it something that's evolved and gotten more effective in recent times?
It's definitely something that he's worked on mindfully because of his middle period concern where he was lacking the wicket-taking ability, and also towards the death, probably Haris and the seems slightly more effective than. So it's something that he's worked on mindfully, and he's very deceptive at it. I mean, with the change-ups, if you're not deceptive, that's probably the biggest key with the change-ups. You have to be deceptive. So I think that's something that's worked with him, and it's been now twice around the wicket. I mean, like Anil said, both batters set. So Hardik Pandya said the other day, very similar fashion. And when the batter set, he's more often than coming at you. So to know what length, because you've got to just sort of pitch it slightly short of half volley, so he goes for the drive as well, and then to place the field in that position. And the one thing key about Shaheen is because his wrist is in line right behind the ball, and that is probably where the deception comes from, because his arm speed, his run up, nothing changes except that flick of the wrist towards the end where he rolls his fingers down. So he continues with that even in the middle phase, like Babar did. Contrary to his first game, he did bring his key bowlers back in, and that did get him a breakthrough.
A bit like Mustafizur, when he was at his peak. I don't think many batters sort of picked Mustafizur from the hand. It was very deceptive, and especially the way Shaheen has got 2 wickets of 2 slower balls has been brilliant.
Yeah, and at his peak, Mustafizur was also quick with his stock ball.
Yes.
Then the pace went. So Shaheen has still got his stock ball, which is quick, which is, I guess, working, and the accuracy too.
Oh yes, when like Urooj mentioned, if there's no slowness in the hand speed and you're literally breaking the wrist at the last moment, it's very difficult to pick as a batter.
All right, there you go. So you could see why 2 set batters, Hardik Pandya in the first game at Palakile and Shubman Gill today, have been properly deceived by a world-class bowler in Shaheen Afridi. Right, after that, 24 of 38, the partnership between Kohli and KL Rahul was walked in at 4. Let's get a quick comment on that. Rahul at 4 ahead of Ishan Kishan. Thoughts on that? Could you have gone either way?
Yeah, I would have certainly sent Rahul, which is the right thing, because I did speak before the start of the match that Rahul needs to get as much time in the middle as possible, and he looked really good and very impressive. 2 short balls, went for 4. He was proactive, and you could see that he wanted to be there. I mean, it's very difficult when you're coming back from an injury. You'll always have a little bit of a doubt as to how things would pan out, but you could see from ball 1 that Rahul was out there, and certainly the right call.
All right, Urooj, if you want to weigh in on that, whether you would have ideally liked to see an Ishan Kishan come in to perhaps take on the bowling. Anil happy with KL Rahul, because things have slowed down just a tad bit, 24 of 38 since the 2 wickets.
I mean, you still go with your formula because, I mean, it's not broken, right? KL Rahul will probably bat at 5 if Shreyas Iyer does come back into 4. So it doesn't make sense to chop and change. Probably best to keep him closest to the position he will come in. I think that it's fine. Also coming back from a long period away from international cricket and from injury, we know the quality he brings. We saw the numbers that he crunches out at number 5. It just takes a little bit of time, and also you probably would allow a team a slight rebuilding phase, having India already 6 runs plus and over in a very strong position. But given all those attributes, that being away from the game, coming back from injury, India losing 2 wickets, you would allow him the space. Some of the short.
Yeah, they've been good.
When you look at.
Yeah, I think we'll try and reconnect with Urooj. Just a little bit of trouble. There's weather in Sri Lanka as well as Pakistan that's bothering us now. But her point is well made. Rahul's looking good so far, especially for a player who's playing an international game after a really long time. So we'll see how things go. Now, I know you can't, as a player, play for weather. But given the forecast, the fact that this could be a reduced game, do you almost have to subconsciously now think our innings could come to an end at any point? Let's say we have a resumption. Do you think like that at all?
Yeah, I think so. I think you should have it at the back of your mind, although there is a reserve day tomorrow. But at any given point in time, especially when the conditions are like this, where you know that the weather is around, you need to keep that at the back of your mind and take every opportunity. It's not like you go there and then just start, smashing every ball. You just need to take every opportunity and be aware and mindful of the fact that your innings could come to a standstill at any given point.
So if they come out, are you sensing more urgency straight away?
You would.
Kohli, who's obviously taking his time at 8 of 16.
Yeah, I think so. I think you would certainly look for that. At least after a couple of overs, you try and say, okay, let's target who you want to target. And then, Shadab hasn't had yes, he's got 1 wicket, but he looks vulnerable and the ball could get wet. So spinners still need to bowl. So you have that option of taking a bowler on, and if there's an opportunity, you need to go for it.
Yeah, got Urooj back. Let's just go back to her for her comments on how KL looked. And also, Urooj, I guess normally the batting first team is affected by a rain break, but I guess Pakistan would also be a bit annoyed. They were looking like they were pulling the game back, and now with the rain break, who knows how India come back and resume?
I mean, if you go by what history is telling us, the breaks haven't favored India. So I think Pakistan will want to continue their luck there. But their bowling was looking a bit more consistent, a bit more disciplined, and I think that's what they lacked, barring Naseem Shah up front. But I do echo what Anil is saying, that India will probably still look to come out very hard and strong. Ishan Kishan, Hardik Pandya, Jadeja, Shardul Thakur, and Kohli and KL Rahul still in the crease. So Pakistan will have their work cut out. Going back to the previous answer, I still feel that it makes sense to stick with the batting lineup that you would play in an ideal circumstances if Shreyas Iyer was in the lineup. So just jumping everyone up rather than pushing Ishan Kishan ahead of KL Rahul, because you'd want KL Rahul to bat in that 5 position, and if wickets fall, you'll want him to construct an innings. He's been away and out from the game for a very long time, coming after injury. He still looks solid with the few shots that he played, but I do suspect they'll come out slightly more harder against Pakistan, given 6 runs and over already, just halfway left to go.
All right, that is pretty much it. Urooj, Anil, thank you very much. That was like a half-time analysis of halfway through the innings, 25 over innings. Maybe that's the future. I know Sachin Tendulkar is a big fan of ODI cricket being split into 25 overs and 2 innings, but I'm not opening that box right now. Right, Anil and Urooj are going to be with us. Let's hope we get some cricket today, and let's hope we have an entire game to discuss, or at least a lot more of it than we've had already. Stay tuned to ESPN Cricinfo, our live ball-by-ball commentary, as well as the mobile app. If you don't have it already, we'll have you nicely covered on when play is about to resume. We'll see you at the end of the India innings, we'd hope, on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday, powered by JBL.
Stunning looks, then swift.
Make sure you download the ESPN Cricinfo app to stay updated with the very latest from the world of cricket.